dry and unforgiving climate of New Mexico, water is everything. For centuries, people have survived here by managing the scarce resource democratically. 400 years ago, Spanish settlers dug ditches and used hollowed-out logs to carry water down from the mountains, creating irrigation systems they called acequias.
I would compare water flowing in the acequia system to the blood flowing in your body, in your veins. Without it, you do not survive. The earth is alive, just like your body is, and it needs to have water circulating through it. It is a matter of survival, and it's just a way of life for us. It is our culture.
Well, it was the acequias that made New Mexico inhabitable. When the Spanish settlers came in, normally they would build an acequia before they even occupied a valley. So you would build a ditch, and you would do that cooperatively because it's a big project. And the water rights are privately owned. The ditch itself, the canal, is collectively owned, collectively maintained.
Neighbors elect neighbors to govern the acequia. A mayordomo, or ditch manager, makes sure things run smoothly.
My primary responsibility is to see that these acequias are maintained, and then that the water is available for distribution to the parciantes. And people call me at home, or they come to see me at my home and ask me if they can use the water for their piece of land. At that time, I go to the main ditch, which is the acequia madre, and I open a head gate and send water down the lateral that will deliver water to this parciantes property. When water is scarce, we keep water flowing in every lateral as long as possible for stock consumption. From there on, we just use it wherever we can the most, where it benefits people the most.
Everything having to do with the business of the ditch, which is the central institution in the Hispano villages, everybody in the village participates in because it's just too important to do it otherwise. And it's a direct democracy because everybody has a real interest in that system's functioning well.
Yearly, we have a clean out of the acequias, and that's where we get all the people that are in the acequias. They get together, shovels and picks and rakes and hoes and everything that's needed, and we go through the system and we clean it out.
You know, on our ditch, we charge $25 if you don't go to help on the cleaning. That's because we need to get somebody to replace you, you know. Everybody knows very well, you know, you'd rather pay the $25, but everybody goes anyway because what the ditch needs is the workers. So that's a good indication that, you know, what matters is the system functions well, you know, and you care about your neighbors. You know, it'll be easier to pay the $25. Unless you are with your neighbors doing something together, you know, working on a project that, you know, really is important to all of you, you're not a community. You might live side by side, but that doesn't mean anything.
How a democracy deals with its boundaries, builds bridges between citizens, determines its success. During the Renaissance, Venice was the most prosperous and beautiful city in Europe. It was no accident. Crammed together on tiny islands, separated by canals depending on trade for survival, Venetians could rub each other the wrong way or work together. The city chose to protect its valued reputation for fair trade by escorting visitors to see they were dealt with fairly. It also protected its citizens. It provided incentives for doctors, a medical school and annual exams to make sure their medical care was the best. Residents, nobles and commoners alike, gathered together in guilds called scuolas. This is the Scuola Grande, decorated with the frescoes of Tintoretto. Guilds took care of members and their families, of the sick and aged, and then extended this care to neighbors as well. The prosperity of the city still shows, but what is less obvious is what their common concern put in place. Venetians were then and are still the longest-lived Europeans. find common ground. People focused on achieving one goal, something this former manager of a traveling circus knows well.
A circus is a small community that's moving from town to town, and we move every day and show in a different community every day and give 2 performances in that community and tear down and move again. When they begin in the morning, it looks like a mass chaos, a jumble of unexplained confusion. And yet there are about 8 departments all working at the same time to get the circus up and ready to go for a performance later that afternoon. We have a crew that takes care of the big top. We have a crew that takes care of the rigging on the inside. We have a crew that takes care of the lighting inside the big top. The animals have a different crew, so they have to be fed and watered and cleaned and groomed for each performance each day. All of that is done conjunctively at the same time, and we all know it's for one thing. It's for the purpose of putting on that performance that afternoon so that the people who have tickets can come and see the show. And it doesn't make any difference whether you're at the low end of the level or at the top rung on the ladder. To get there, you have to work together and recognize each other in the process. You can't have great performers if you don't have great prop men. You can't have well-trained and well-cared-for animals if you don't have good animal men. Without them, you have nothing. And I remind everybody, there are no stars on the circus.
I believe Auburn Dam needs to be built. It's going to be the way that we offset droughts and have a sufficient water supply for generations to come.
I don't believe the Auburn Dam should be built. I have seen no good justification for it.
The people who are making the selection say, well, it's going to be an Auburn Dam, and there's going to be another proposal which was not a dam solution.
It has broad benefits for the entire state.
It was all done by people who had an agenda to build a dam.
I've spent 20 and 30 years on this river. My community is built up around people who came here because of the river. That will be lost with the dam. That will be gone forever.
The American River flows down from the high Sierras to the ocean. It's one of the last wild rivers in California. A battle now rages over whether it should be dammed for flood protection and water supply downstream. The water issue has deeply divided the community. These representatives decided to debate their differences on site, paddling in close quarters on an angry river.
Today we'll be out trying to find a way to discuss on the river, right here in the very canyon, which may well be inundated with water from the Auburn Dam, if there is some common ground from the environmentalist perspective to not build the dam, and then from the perspective of those of us who see a need to build the dam.
I will support an Auburn Dam if it's shown to be beneficial and economically advantageous to everybody who's participating in the process. And the society makes a decision that that benefit and those economics justify killing a river. I mean, that's a serious decision. Do you kill a river to benefit society?
You talk about killing a river, that may be one way to phrase it. I'd like to look at it as an avoidance of killing people down in Sacramento through flood control.
We're going to provide more water resources for California that no one argues we don't need.
This is a stretch where I got thrown out last time. Right here. Take a look at my wife's glasses. There's locked somewhere.